What stresses you out, and are you handling it? Well, we here on the Chrissy B Show want to help you, our lovely viewers, avoid stress getting the better of you, because we love to look after your mental health and well-being. And what better time to talk about stress than during Mental Health Awareness Week? Let's get started. And kicking things off today, we have our resident coach, Chris Browne, who's going to be talking about workplace stress.
That's correct.
And what other things are we talking about?
And what we're going to do is about how to actually handle workplace stress as well.
Okay.
On both sides of the street.
Brilliant. And we also have on our resident psychologist, Dr. Audrey Tang. So Audrey, what we're going to be speaking about today?
Today, Chrissy, we're going to be talking about stress. We're going to look at what causes stress and what we can do about it as well.
Okay then, looking forward to it.
Great.
See you in a minute. And we also have on our resident medical expert, Dr. Rob Hicks, to answer all of your medical questions. Hello, Rob.
Hi, Chris.
Are you ready to answer the viewer questions today?
We always get fabulous questions, don't we?
We do. What's one of the ones that we've had today?
Well, one of the questions I'll be answering is it possible for an infection from the tooth to go and infect or affect the kidney?
Oh, interesting question.
Very interesting.
What do you guys think? We're going to find out a bit later on. And of course, what would the Chrissy B Show be without our helping of Happy with the lovely Helena Chard? How are you, Helena?
Very well, thank you, Chrissy.
Got some great news articles to share with us, haven't you?
Fabulous news articles.
Brilliant.
Good fun ones.
So we look forward to that.
Great.
Thank you. And we also have on our resident nutritionist, Lily Soutter, who's going to be talking to us about the link between nutrition and stress. And Lily, you're also going to be making something for us.
Yeah, I'm going to be making a sun-dried tomato pesto with couscous.
Lovely. Really looking forward to it, Lily. And also, guys, don't forget, at the end of the program, I'm going to be covering my own tips on 7 ways that I keep stress at bay. We also share with you how we got on when resident fitness expert Natalia Kotowska visited the dancers at Studio 68 to do the Mental Health Dance Challenge. And we show you an insightful Head Talks video featuring Dr.Nerina Ramlakhan about the 5 non-negotiables if you want to sleep better, and also myths about sleep. Now, stress, like most mental health issues, does not discriminate, and according to the Mental Health Foundation, it affects everyone and can have long-lasting repercussions to your mental, emotional and physical health. Stress-related disorders and diseases have been on the rise for decades, according to data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, including heart disease, obesity and diabetes. It also states that stress can lead to feelings of withdrawal and isolation, a hazard for relationships, and prolonged stress can lead to depression and has been linked to anxiety disorders. So stress affects us all in all aspects of life. Now, one area where stress breeds can be in the workplace. So to kick things off today, we're joined by our very own Coach Chris Browne. Hello again, Chris.
Hi, Chrissy.
So in your opinion, Chris, what are the most common workplace stresses?
In my opinion, the common worst workplace stresses would be, one, workload. The other one is deadline as well, being able to meet deadlines, and also being able to be feel valued at the end of the day, because you think about it, workload, you're getting all this work, there's no delegation, you're the only one doing it, and it's going to oppress you, depress you, and you think, well, I can't handle this. Yep. Then if you're doing that work in itself and you're not feeling valued by the company, by your boss or so, any kind of, you're going to feel a bit less about it as well. So what you're doing, you're imploding all these different ideas, which probably is not so at the end of the day, but of course workload is, and deadlines is a stressor. So you're going to feel pretty devalued about it. You're going to get a bit stressed about it. You're not really doing the things the way you believe you could do them. So here we go. That kicks off stress.
Okay, and what actually happens to the company's workflow then if an employee is particularly stressed?
Well, let's put it down to practical. Think about this. If you're stressed and you're in that company, you've got people who are going to take breaks all the time. You're going to get people who's going for coffee, smoke breaks, all right, okay. All these other areas. Now, on top of that, it's going to breed for agitation. You know, so what happens there? Workflow of the company flows pretty slow, bad, it drops. Now, on top of that, imagine this, customer service, and somebody's under stress already. They have all these breaks, and then they've got to deal with customers at the desk or something like that. Yeah. They're going to be pretty agitated, and obviously that we'll say, knocks down the production of the company itself.
Okay, and then what can a person do then to be less stressed at work, would you say?
Well, that's a big one. Then I can answer it for the whole world. I'll be a millionaire, wouldn't I? Right, but to be really honest about it, I would say that what they should do is, one, be able to have a common ground where they can actually talk about it, communicate with their boss about how they've been treated, how they feel they've been treated as well. If that doesn't work, you yourself, you've got to work out, well, how am I actually going to, let's say, time manage my work at the same time as well. If you can time manage your work, you're more in control of it. You won't feel that sort of way that I've got to meet this deadline, that deadline, because you're on top of it already. And the other thing as well, you got to think about, it's funny, I sent out a tweet earlier on today about people in business, and it's business people or people in business. Now, you've got to value yourself at the end of the day. If somebody else isn't going to value, you've got to realize what you can do, what you can't do, and what are your limits at the end of the day. Now, you think about it. If you're under stress, the Japanese call it koroshi, which means sudden death. Yep. Heart starts pumping, arteries get tighter, you're getting stressed. It's not good for your health in any kind of way. So you've got to look after you, communicate, find out what's going on. How can this be held better instead?
Brilliant. Okay, Chris, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Coach Chris Browne, and we shall see you again very soon.
Yep. Okay.
And everybody, if you would like more information about our coach here, please do head over to our website, chrissybshow.tv, scroll down and you can catch all his information there. So now, what does our resident psychologist, Dr. Audrey Tang, have to say about the mental implications of stress? Well, here she is. So Audrey, what exactly is stress and why does it happen?
Well, it is a physiological reaction to sometimes emotional, it can be physical, it can be just straightforward trauma or things that happen to us. What happens to us is that we often stop sleeping, it affects our appetite, our heart rate goes up, our blood pressure goes up, we might sweat a lot more. It's not a pleasant feeling. And unfortunately, for as long as that stressor, whatever it is that's causing it, continues, we keep on feeling that high level of almost nervous energy, and it doesn't seem to dissipate. It can be a real problem. It can be related to things like exam time, so around now when a lot of university students are taking their exams, A-levels and so on, so it can be one of those sorts of things. But unfortunately, life itself is quite stressful. Back in the 50s and 60s, Holmes and Rahe created a scale of life stressors, finding that divorce, bereavement, moving house were right at the top. They are pretty much still at the top now.
Really?
Often because they seem to come together as well, because if you divorce, you probably will have to move house, and when you're bereaved again, similar things might happen. And it's worse if it's unexpected. So in a way, if you were able to prepare for it, then there's some kind of respite. But if it's unexpected, it can be a problem. But unfortunately, they've also realised that even positive things can cause us stress. For example, having a baby.
I was just thinking that.
Marriage.
Even moving house, if it's like for good reasons.
Absolutely.
It can still be quite...
because there's so much to do. All of those things, they can be very stressful because you're dealing with lots of different people, lots of different demands. But even environmental factors can cause us stress. The heat, the weather, at the moment, because it's so changeable, we don't know what to wear. You might put something on that you get too hot, you get too cold. Again, if it's uncontrollable and unpredictable, that causes us more problems. Noise. If there's someone drilling outside where you're working and you don't know when it's going to stop and you don't know when it's going to start, that can be a problem too. So many factors cause us stress.
Okay. Are some people more prone to stress than others, would you say?
I think it's best to take sort of a biopsychosocial approach to this. Yes, there is, because it's physiological, a genetic or innate component. However, you can learn resilience, and sometimes we're just not taught it. If you're always being kind of wrapped in cotton wool, mothered or smothered a little bit, that can be very difficult to learn that you can fail, but you can bounce back from failure. So sometimes you see things at schools where everyone gets a medal, and that's not necessarily telling everybody that you can fail, and it's okay to fail as long as you bounce back and you pick yourself up from it. So sometimes the way we actually react around failure and trying to protect people may not help us build up resilience. So there's a sort of psychological component, but then there's also the social component as well. So you get a lot of people who maybe are just in a very stressful environment, certainly first responders, the trauma itself when they're dealing with accidents and so on, that can be very stressful. But sometimes people's lifestyles, through no fault of their own, can be very stressful too. I just always like the story of educating Rita, who really wanted to get her degree, but her whole her whole culture wanted to keep her in her place. And so sometimes when you're trying to get out of a certain situation, but your culture is such that it's not expected, that can cause problems too. So as I say, it's not necessarily some people are more prone to it. It can depend very much on different factors.
Oh, brilliant. Audrey, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
And we'll see you again next week for another topic. Brilliant. Well, don't go away, because after the break, we show you how we got on when we visited South London Dance Studio, Studio 68, with our resident fitness expert Natalia Kotowska, and we also feature a video with Dr.Nerina Ramlakhan about the 5 non-negotiables if you want to sleep better, and also myths about sleep. And this is a video courtesy of Head Talks. But first, is this true or false? The average time we spend asleep is 6.8 hours. Think you know the answer? Find out after this break. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everyone, your program for all things mental health and well-being. Now, before the break, we asked you if this was true or false. The average time we spend asleep is 6.8 hours. The answer is true. According to a poll reposted in The Independent of 2,000 adults surveyed, the average time we spend asleep is 6.8 hours. Well, now it's time to head over to Dr.Nerina Ramlakhan about the 5 non-negotiables if you want to sleep better, and also some myths about sleep.
I'm a physiologist, but I've spent over 25 years helping people to sleep and to have more energy. And I guess my work comes from the fact that I once had huge problems sleeping myself. Often these things, they sound so small that people will neglect them. And so over the years, I've started calling them something which sounds a little bit kind of tough and almost bullish, but I call them my 5 non-negotiables. Number one thing is a lot of people wake up and they don't make the right nutritional choice. They don't eat breakfast first thing in the morning, within half an hour of getting up. So eating breakfast within half an hour of getting up, particularly if you wake up and your nervous system is nervous, you wake up in a state of anxiety, it's really important that you eat to stabilize blood sugar, which then has an impact on how much melatonin you produce and therefore how you sleep at night. It also has an impact on how much adrenaline you produce. Number 1, eat breakfast within half an hour. Number 2, stop living on caffeine and stimulants. So a lot of people, the world's going fast, technology is driving us even faster, and we're revving up, constantly revving up and wanting to stay revved up. And people are living on stimulants. And of course, when we produce a lot of adrenaline, and when we drink a lot of caffeine, it stops the melatonin from working at night, so cut back on caffeine. The third one is be well hydrated. The body is 70 to 80% water. Drink lots of water, hydrate the cells, hydrate the brain, your biochemistry, your neurophysiology will work better. All of the complex cascade of hormonal reactions and neurotransmitters that are involved in helping us to sleep, all of that works better when we're well hydrated. So that's the third thing. The fourth thing, cultivate a better relationship with technology. Switch off before you go to bed, ideally an hour before you get into bed. Put your phone in another room. Don't sit and watch television while doing 4 other things, looking at social media, doing your shopping on Amazon, looking at the dating app. So many people don't just do one thing at a time on a screen, they're multitasking. My 5th tip is try and go to bed earlier 4 nights a week. So in my books, I've written books about this, but in the most recent one, I talked about that 90-minute phase before midnight, which, according to Ayurveda, Indian medicine and Chinese medicine, is incredibly healing, that 90-minute phase before midnight. So when you start going to bed earlier, it entrains the nervous system to accept rest. So I don't mean get into bed at 10 o'clock, 10:30 and be fast asleep. What I mean by that is get into bed and rest. What we think about sleep, what we believe about sleep really affects how we sleep. So let me just give you a few unhelpful beliefs, myths if you like. First one, we shouldn't wake up during the night. We're engineered to wake up during the night for our survival. When we worry about waking up, that in itself stops us getting back to sleep. And then if we start measuring our sleep, which a lot of people do these days, or checking the time obsessively, that stops us getting back to sleep. Average human being wakes between 10 to 15 times a night. It's normal. It's not normal to stay awake, but it's normal to wake up. We all need 7 or 8 hours of sleep a night in order to function well. Untrue. we can get by on 3 or 4 nights, 3 or 4 hours of sleep, which are pure, if they are pure, good sleep, we'll feel brilliant the next day. So it's not about hours, it's about the purity of your sleep. When we fixate and we measure hours, we get ourselves into problems. The third one, I can play catch up. So a lot of people going to bed too late, they're on their social media, they're doing their email, God knows what they're doing, and they're going to bed really late, way past midnight, and sleeping in, but waking up feeling awful. You do need at least 4 nights a week, I would say. If you need that 90-minute phase before midnight, it's a very pure type of sleep that repairs every energy system in the body.
Thanks very much to Head Talks for that video, and if you'd like to know more about them, please do head over to our website, chrissybshow.tv, and click on our contributors section. Now, something else that combats stress is movement, and what better way to get yourself moving than by doing our very own mental health dance challenge. And here's how Natalia Kotowska got on when she met the dancers from Studio 68 to do the challenge.
It's me, Natalia Kotowska, and keeping with Nat, your fitness and dance instructor. And today we're here with MHD Challenge, Mental Health Dance in Studio 68. We have this great opportunity to work with dance students of Studio 68 to record our challenge, dance challenge. So stay with us, see what we've got for you, because it's gonna be crazy.
5, 6, 7, 8.
So hey TK, I'm very glad to have you involved in our MHD challenge, which stands for Mental Health Dance. So how do you feel about mental health, and how would you like to see it progressing? What's your idea? What's your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for getting me and the studio involved in this project. What I would say is there's so many different situations and matters that people go through on mental health. We actually have a couple of people here at the studio with problems that are very interesting, and they need a medication to actually cope with it. What I feel about it, I feel that unfortunately certain people are born with it, and we don't have, sometimes we don't have the resources over here at the studio. However, we do have something that's called dance, and dance has really helped people to actually come out from what they're going through, apart from medication, doctors, or anything that they have to do checkup wise. So, I think what we need to do is, instead of thinking so much about a medication that is so much to come into our bodies, it's more that what we feel in our hearts. So through dance and fitness, I think is something that will help a lot of people. So I think if Studio 68 can actually get involved in more of this, and we can even open a charity to help people that way, because we've done it with other cases, with younger kids with problems at home, then maybe we can get involved in something for mental health. So if that's something that we could do, then why not?
A little bit of our MHD challenge, and so how are you feeling afterwards? What are your thoughts about it? Now what do you think about mental health dance? What does it stand for after doing this actually? So how do you feel? What would you say to people out there that are watching us?
Yeah. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was really great. The moves, I really connected to it, especially when when we were doing this, and I felt like just releasing all that negative, anything that was in my mind, I really connected to it. I loved it. It made me so happy. It's fantastic.
Yeah. I'm really honoured actually, and I'm so excited to be able to actually be talking about this, because I'm actually someone that's been through it, and I know people can relate more to that. And for me, dancing is something that I've always loved, and I think for people out there, it's like you should always be doing what you love. And so doing this dance with amazing people at this amazing studio, I live for it, and like I'm in my element, and it's a release. It makes me happy, and being happy is what prevents me from thinking about all the bad things out there that I don't need to think about. So it's a release for me, and it just makes me happy, and that's the most important thing in life.
People just push this serious issue to the side, and it's crazy to me, and it's great to know that people are doing something about it. And like, I've been in relationships with people who've suffered from mental health issues, and it's not only important for the people who are dealing with it to have support and to know that there's people out there that can support them and are going through the same things, but the people who are surrounding them, like their friends, their family, and their partners, to know that they also have someone, and there's people there to get support from.
Someone else. Let's go.
Thanks very much to Natalia and to all the dancers at Studio 68, and well done. Well, don't go away, because after the break we talk to Helena Chard for some positive news, and also resident medical expert Dr. Rob Hicks answers your medical questions, including this one. Is it possible for an infection in a tooth to spread to a kidney? Find out what Dr. Rob Hicks has to say after this break. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everyone, the program that loves to look after your mental health and well-being. And now we have with us Dr. Rob Hicks, who's here to answer some of your medical questions. Hello, Rob.
Hi, Chris. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm feeling fantastic, actually.
Do you think this mountain of cake's just growing every week?
I know. It seems to be proliferating in a somewhat unhealthy way.
But you will see that we do have self-control because we're not eating anything.
Yes.
Says. Anyway, yes, okay. So we had an interesting question that you talked about before in the intro, and it was the one I actually spoke about before the break. Is it possible for an infection in a tooth to spread to the kidneys?
The simple answer is yes.
Really?
But actually it's incredibly rare.
Okay.
And the way that it's thought that it might happen is that when you get an infection in the teeth, the inflammatory process that goes on that causes the inflammation, that process can happen elsewhere in the body, affecting any of the major organs. So, for example, often talked about in research is whether it affects the heart. But just like it may well affect the heart, it can affect the kidneys and other organs as well. So yes, but it's very, very uncommon.
Okay. Next question. My daughter has hyperproteinemia. Hang on, let me try again. No. Hyperproteinemia.
Hypoproteinemia.
Hypoproteinemia. There you go. And iron deficiency anemia. How can I help her?
Okay, well, what your daughter's got, as you probably know, but for those viewers who don't know, they've got low levels. It means low levels of protein in the blood, and also low levels of iron deficiency. The way that you can help her is, first and foremost, learn as much about these conditions as you can, so that you're very informed, and also follow the advice of the specialist looking after your doctor with regards to treatment. Follow it to the letter. And if there's anything that you're not sure about or you don't understand, then ask. With hyperproteinemia, it occurs either because the diet is lacking in protein, or the protein in the diet has not been absorbed properly, or in liver conditions, for example, where protein is manufactured. If there's liver disease, then it means that not enough protein is made. But also in some kidney conditions, you lose protein from the body. So really the treatment of that condition is of the underlying cause. With iron deficiency anemia, particularly in teenage girls and women, the most common cause is actually through blood loss through monthly periods, or actually not getting enough in the diet. And with regards to that, it's important to have a diet that's rich in iron, and also the doctor may suggest supplements. But follow the doctor's advice and never be frightened to ask questions if you're not sure about something.
We've got time for 1 minute and a half. Do you reckon you can answer this last one?
Okay.
I'm a 52-year-old man, and my doctor thinks that I have diverticulitis. No.
Yeah, diverticulitis. Yeah.
I think they do this on purpose for me. Okay. She said that if tests confirm it, I will probably have to get surgery. Will surgery mean that I have to get pieces of my intestine removed?
Well, with diverticulitis, essentially what happens is within the gut you get little pouches stretched in the gut, and that happens over time, and it happens with a low fibre diet, and it happens in relation to getting older. Oh. Diverticulitis is when these pouches become infected or inflamed. Now, generally speaking, this can be treated without the need of surgery. So, for example, with tablet antibiotics is one part of the treatment, painkillers, and indeed sometimes having a fluid-only diet just to give the bowel a bit of rest. When it's very severe, then people are admitted to hospital and they're given intravenous antibiotics, intravenous fluids, and they're given painkillers. So, generally speaking, surgery is only used when there's risk of complications occurring. So, for example, blockage in the intestine, an abscess in the intestine, and other complications that can arise from this condition. So, for me, it would be unusual for the first option to be surgery. But if you should need surgery, then yes, a part of the bowel may be removed. But hopefully, you'll be able to be treated and recover through non-surgical treatments. And then it's a case of keeping your bowel healthy with plenty of fibre is what you'll be recommended for the most part.
Brilliant, Rob. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And we shall see you again next week.
Yes, indeed.
And do tuck in. Okay. All right, everybody. So now it's time for the latest in Feel Good News with our lovely Helena Chard. Welcome to the show, Helena.
Thank you, Chrissy. So I've got lots of news.
Yes.
I'm going to start by talking about actor Martin Clunes, who I actually really love. I do think he's great. He's got one of those amazing expressive faces that makes me feel happy. Okay. But he's saying every school should have a horse. Oh, okay. Now, he lives in Dorset. He's got loads of horses, idyllic country sort of life, really, really lucky. But not so lucky when he was growing up. He was sent to a school straight after his father dying. It was a time when they whipped you with sticks and things. Yeah. I mean, really badly. So he suffered emotionally and physically. And he needed therapy, which he got help for, which is great. But as a result, for him, he always wants to keep children happy and safe, and realises how good animals are in helping that. So horses to him are a big thing. And he's helped launch a campaign through the British Horse Society to help children regain confidence and get through stressful times, really which is really good. It's the whole interacting with horses. So he's a patron of a couple of charities, also the British Horse Society and also Fortune Centre Riding Therapy. And he's got a documentary out at the moment, which is absolutely fascinating. It's incredible, where it's children with learning difficulties go to the school, and they are taught so many different skills, and they use their passion for horses to actually create a specialist curriculum, which is incredible, really good. So I love him, I absolutely love him. And therapy's obviously changed their life and made them really confident. Right. Moving on to something in the news. Not great, but in a way it's opened people's eyes again. So the British Film Institute has had a bit of their knuckles racked, but pleased to hear that they're actually sending their staff for some much needed training. Okay. And this is to do with a young woman with Asperger's, and she was forcibly removed from the cinema, which was really sad. It was actually her birthday, Tamsin Parker, only 25, and she went to see a film that she absolutely loves, which is The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. And she loves it so much, she was laughing, you know, the whole way through quite loudly. And the staff there didn't sort of read the situation and actually forcibly removed her from the cinema, which was just so awful. Onlookers described the act as sort of really bad, the intolerance just so ugly, and what's this world come to, and people were talking on social media. But it's got people talking, and staff are being trained up, which is good news. 1 in 3 Britons use baking to help them de-stress. Now, I'm not one of those.
Baking or eating?
I'm not one of those. I wish I was. Yes, eating maybe. After a busy day at work as well, which is great. So researchers have found it a pleasurable time for many, even enjoying the mixing and the stirring, which is, I think, fascinating. It's not something that I would do, but
mixing the stirring, the licking the bowl afterwards.
2/3 of Brits believe baking improves their moods when they're feeling low. So the predominant emotion is feeling really, really happy, sense of calm and focus, which is fabulous. And Dr. Linda Papadopoulos.
You should be able to pronounce that, Helena Chard.
I knew you'd say that.
Where's the Greek roots?
Say that? That's ridiculous, isn't it? Anyway, but said the very act of following a recipe as well has a similar approach to mindfulness, which is obviously very good for stress. People follow the recipe, and obviously it encourages to be in the present and everything, which is so the main thing is it's creative, joyful, fun, rewarding, and it shows people you love, brings them together, and makes everybody happy.
Helena, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll see you again next week for more positive news.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, everyone, don't go away, because after the break we talk to nutritionist Lily Soutter on a special recipe for you vegetarians out there, and she answers your nutritional questions, including this one. Does eating egg whites instead of whole eggs make a big difference to weight loss? Find out what she has to say after this break. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everyone, and today it's our Mental Health Awareness Week show on stress. And now with us is nutritionist Lily Soutter to give us a healthy and nutritious vegetarian recipe for Vegetarianism Week. But before that, how can we combat stress with nutrition? Hello, Lily.
Hello.
So tell us, there is a link obviously with stress and nutrition. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, there can be. So I sort of see two types of people. Some people who, when they are stressed, they may actually lose their appetite and they may start skipping meals. And then I can also see some people who tend to turn to food at times of stress to sort of cope with that stress. So they may an emotional eat, or they may stress eat. The thing to remember is if you're skipping meals or you're not eating for long periods of time, which can happen when we're busy and stressed, what happens is your blood sugar levels can drop. And when we have low blood sugar, it can lead to sort of anxiety, irritability, tearfulness, that hangry feeling, and you're not in a prime or optimal state to cope with that sort of external stressor. So it's important to fuel your body, to balance blood sugar, and to sort of have 3 meals a day if you can, focusing on things like whole grains, protein, healthy fats. A lot of people, if they're short on time or they're stressed and they don't feel like cooking, I always think that batch cooking is good. So you have leftovers for a later date, and you can always freeze lots of portions.
That's what I do sometimes.
Absolutely. And there is also a tendency to grab things like quick fix foods when you're under stress, whether that's sort of sugar-laden treats,
sausage rolls,
absolutely, or pastries, just because it's easy. But that again affects blood sugar levels, and I think it's important to focus on quick but nourishing snacks instead, whether that's sort of natural yogurt and fresh fruit, hummus with carrots, or even just 2 boiled eggs, or fruit dipped in nut butter, can be amazing snacks to help keep energy levels stable but give you sustained fuel to the brain, so you're able to think clearly in a more sort of rational way.
Brilliant. Okay, and we're going to be making something healthy today, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So today we're going to be obviously making the sun-dried tomato pesto with some couscous. We've got some roasted peppers, but you could use any sort of roasted veg with this. Some mixed greens like rocket and some olives.
Brilliant. Okay, so how do we do this?
So first of all, in the blender, we just first of all add our sun-dried tomatoes, so around sort of 50 grams on average. And then for this pesto, I'm using cashew nuts. You can use pine nuts, but I find that cashew nuts just taste a little bit more creamy. You can really use any nuts. I've used almonds before as well. And they just give it a slightly different flavour. And then 1 garlic clove as well in there. And then obviously the olive oil. Olive oil is amazing for heart health.
Yeah. Okay.
And whilst it may seem like I'm pouring in quite a bit at the moment, this pesto can last for quite a while. Right. So in reality, you're not going to be like drenching your food in oil. And then it's obviously, you don't necessarily need salt to flavour it, but it can give it a nice flavour. But I tend to say, with most food, you don't always need to add salt necessarily. So, let me put one more thing, sorry, just forgetting, lemon juice. So sometimes people like using a whole lemon with this pesto, but I find it gives it a little bit too much of a tart taste, so I usually only use half. And you can always sort of adjust that and add more if you need to. Then you just blitz it, really.
Okay. Nice and simple. Okay.
Perfect.
It smells really nice.
Yeah. And then once it's blended, you can add it to the couscous.
Okay.
So the couscous is very easy to make. Literally, you put it into a bowl, add some boiling,
so people can see what you're doing.
Add some boiling water, and then you put a lid on it or a cover, and you leave it for a couple of minutes, and then it cooks naturally. So it's a very, very quick thing to do.
As if you've forgotten to make something as well, it's great for things like that.
Absolutely. If you're out and about or you're at work, it's so quick to do, and you really don't need anything to cook it in as well, which is amazing. So you add your couscous, and then you just pour in a little bit of the sun-dried tomato pesto and then stir it. And then obviously you can add any flavourings and anything else you want, but I usually add a few greens, a few olives, a little bit of roasted red pepper.
Love that.
And you can also add a bit of feta if you want a bit more protein with it. And you just mix it around and that's done. And it can sit in the fridge for a couple of days.
Let's just show our viewers how that looks. Doesn't that look appetizing and lovely, guys? Amazing. So I'm going to try that in a bit, because we have some questions quickly to answer. We've got 2 minutes. Let's see if we can get through them all. Okay, so this person's asking, does eating egg whites instead of whole eggs make a big difference in weight loss?
Technically, no. Egg whites are lower in calories, but the yolk is the most nutrient-dense part. It's one of the very few foods which actually has vitamin D in it, and lots of antioxidants, and it's not all about calories. I personally think weight loss can be about the nutrient density of a food, and fat does keep us full. It's a satiating effect. So in reality, not really. You can have whichever you want.
Okay, next question. Why are fermented foods good for you? Everyone keeps telling me, but I don't really get why they're good for me.
So fermented foods are foods with sort of live bacteria, and live bacteria is thought of as a sort of a probiotic. Yeah. So you can get several types of fermented food, kefir, even yogurt, natural yogurt has been fermented, and it should have live bacteria or live cultures in it. Okay. Sauerkraut is sort of a fermented cabbage. Kimchi, which is sort of fermented vegetables, all provide this bacteria, and it's thought to help support gut health or digestive health. Okay. A lot of bacteria reside within the gut. And it's thought the regular consumption of fermented foods may help to establish good levels of gut bacteria. Okay. The research is still pretty new on like probiotic type foods or fermented foods in relation to health benefits, but there's certainly no harm in having lots of fermented foods.
Okay, brilliant. And the last question for today, are juice cleanses and detoxes good for you? Surely not eating and only drinking juice is bad for you.
So we definitely don't need to go on detoxes at all. It's a big myth and sort of marketing ploy. Our livers and kidneys are constantly detoxifying all the time, so we're constantly in a state of detoxification anyway. Yeah. And I do find that people do go on sudden cleanses or detox diets. It can maybe stimulate an unhealthy relationship with food, because often these diets exclude whole food groups. Okay. Drinking only juice for several days, or even some people do it for months, definitely not healthy. You're removing a lot of vitamins and minerals from your diet and a lot of the fibre, and it's basically all sugar. So your blood sugar levels will be all over the place. Okay. Very little protein, no fat. So definitely, I think just eating a healthy diet, balanced diet. If you feel like you've overdone things, just cut back on maybe whatever you feel like you've overdone, and just focused on a balanced diet, and you'll be fine.
Okay, Lily, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll see you again soon. Yeah. And guys at home, if you'd like to know more information about Lily, all you need to do is visit our website, which is chrissybshow.tv. Scroll down, and she's there, and you can click on her information there. Well, now everyone, it's time for my tips on 7 ways that I keep stress at bay. Okay, so let's get straight to my tips. So one of the ways that I keep stress at bay is, number 1, by taking care of my health. So that includes exercising, eating well, sleeping when I need to, taking a break when I need to. Now, I personally can really feel when I need to take a break and just stop everything. And I've recently went through this where I just felt like I couldn't move anymore. So I just laid down, had a rest, didn't do anything, put my phone away, and just really did that because I could feel myself getting quite stressed, and I knew that that was time that I actually needed to stop. And also doing things that I enjoy, like going out, having a meal, spending time with my husband, having fun, having a laugh. All those things are really, really important. My second thing that I do, and that you can do too, is don't take too much on. So sometimes, as we've heard today, you do need to say no, or in some cases, not even necessarily a no that you say to a person. You could say, well, not now, or I'll get back to you. So you can actually see how you can fit that in, if you can really fit it in. Gives you just some time to think about things rather than just saying yes to everything. Now, I made this mistake just this week, actually, when I took on I thought I could manage 2 interviews in one day. And I thought it was okay because I had one booked in the morning, early morning, and one later on in the afternoon. But then I had 2 unexpected meetings in between. So it was a very tiring day. And I was there wishing, well, I probably shouldn't have booked 2 interviews in one day. People ask me, I don't like to say no to people where I can tell my story. I like to do that because I know it helps people. But that also can't be at the expense of my own mental health and well-being. I have to kind of be careful of that as well. So next time I would probably just maybe do the 1 interview in a day, and just in case anything unexpected comes up, then at least I've got the rest of the day for those things, plus my work that I had to do as well. The third thing is, I deal with issues as they come normally. So this could be issues at work, This could be issues with people and with problems in general. I personally don't like to let things drag on, even though sometimes we do have to have uncomfortable conversations, things that we don't look forward to, or there's certain problems that you kind of just want to sweep under the carpet and not deal with right now because you don't feel up to it, or you don't feel like you're strong enough. But the sooner that you deal with things that come up, the better, because then your mind is free. If not, you're going to be thinking about those situations, you're going to be thinking about that situation with that person, and even though you try to concentrate and think of something else, it's going to keep coming back to you and stress you out. So something that I do regularly is deal with things as soon as they come. Obviously, you think about things, you process the best way to, to sort things out, and then you just deal with it. The fourth thing is to let things go. So there, there are some things that, again, you just don't have control over, especially when it's other people. We can't control other people. We can't control everything that we want. Sometimes we want things to kind of go a certain way and we get disappointed, but there are certain things that you've just got to say, you know what, it doesn't matter. And maybe it could even be an argument with someone, a disagreement with someone, and it seems like you're never actually agreeing, you're never sorting things out. And sometimes there are actually times when you're never going to reach an agreement, depending on who it is and what you're talking about. You will see things differently to that person, and that's just some things that you have to accept and get on with it. And other things, for example, that you have to let go of. Things like, people sometimes get so stressed about the weather and moving and all sorts of things, but there's some things you can't actually do anything about. If there's something major going on in your life, just take it step by step, but if you stress about it and you overthink things, it's going to make you feel a lot worse. So just do what you can, and don't, which goes on to my next point, don't pressure yourself too much, which is number 5. Yeah, don't pressure yourself too much. Now, again, I used to be quite a perfectionist, and in some ways and in some areas I still am, especially if it's something to do with that affects other people. So if I know, for example, that like in the case of certain emails that come through, I like to answer things as soon as possible, and if someone is asking for my help, I do like to get things done straight away in that respect. However, I noticed that sometimes it's just not possible to answer everyone at the time that they want, or get back to people at the time that they want, depending on what's going on in my life. So this is something that I actually learned recently, that even though, yes, I want to help people and I want to answer certain emails straight away, sometimes I just can't. Sometimes there's other priorities, sometimes there's things that I need to sort out, or maybe I need to take a break for my own well-being, but also so I can actually do my best for that person that I'm trying to help as well. So that's a balance that I'm actually, finding out now. And the next point is to keep things tidy. Now, this is a big one for me, because I really can't concentrate if things are messy, whether that's in the office or my house. I like to keep things very organized. I've had a massive decluttering. I thought I didn't have that much stuff to get rid of, but I thought, I'm going to be really strict with myself and really get rid of stuff that I don't need. I've organized things really well. The latest thing that I'm working on is stuff on my laptop, because my desktop was full, and my husband Michael was just saying to me, isn't it about time you started tidying up your desktop? I've done that. It took a few hours, but I've done everything. Everything's in folders. Already my mind feels more organized. I know where everything is. I'm still working on it, by the way. I haven't quite finished my laptop yet. But it's just been a lot easier and less stressful, because I can find things quickly. The house is tidy. I know exactly where everything is. So if you find that you are stressed when you go into your flat or your house, consider actually taking out some time. Sometimes you might even have to take a couple of days off work to sort everything out. But trust me, it's worth it, because it will save you time in the long run and actually keep you very sane. And finally, something that I love to do is to pray. So again, as I said, there are some things that maybe there are times when I feel I can't deal with at the time, or I don't know how to deal with. I need some kind of direction. I need something. I need answers, and that's where I do like to pray, because my faith is important to me, and it actually keeps me strong in many difficult situations. So that's what I like to do, and it really does help me, because there are certain things that we can't do anything about, but a higher power can. Well, everyone, we've reached the end of today's program, but if you have a story that you would like to share, or you'd like to tell us about how you deal with stress, then please do get in touch with us. You can email us on info@chrissybshow.tv. You can also tweet us at Chrissy B Show or leave a message on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Till next time, bye for now. Welcome back to The Chrissy B Show, everyone. And today is our Mental Health Awareness Week show on stress. And now we have with us nutritionist Lily Soutter. Sorry. I'm sorry. Soutter, I'm so sorry.
Then you just blitz it, really.
Okay.
Sorry, I just have no idea how to use this blender.
Hold on, I'll get confused. 1 minute.
I'm not used to it. I should have probably practiced putting it on before.
This way. The handle needs to be.
Okay. All right. So it's that. Yeah. So we've basically. Okay.